My name is John Kress. I'm a research scientist at the National Museum of Natural History at the Smithsonian, and I agreed to moderate this panel. So before we begin to hear from our 5 speakers with their presentations on different types of apps that have been developed to understand the planet better, I thought I would give us some background on why we're even doing this, and I'm sure you've been hearing this since the very first talk this morning. I'll give you a little bit different perspective. I'm a tropical ecologist. And what you're seeing right here, and let's see, I don't guess I have any pointer. We're interested in nature and the diversity of nature. I take this example. I've been working in this forest in Costa Rica. On the right, on your right side here, are about 80 species of plants that occur in a 10-hectare portion of forest. There's about 80 species there. On your left are about 120 species of beetles that only feed on these plants on the right. Now we can add up all those numbers and come up with an estimate of diversity based upon just species number, but that's not all that's happening in the ecosystems that we're working in. We're also interested in how these species are interacting, and the complexity of those interactions far outshadows just the number of species. So we can count up the number of species interacting in this forest, or we can count up the number of interactions, and we have a magnitude, if not 2 or 3 more magnitudes, of complexity. And in many cases, it's that complexity that we're very interested in understanding and actually conserving. But of course, we all know, and as we've heard today, there are a lot of threats to this diversity. And again, not just the species, but also to the interactions in the habitats where we're working around the world. Now, these various threats, and I won't go into all of them because of time, you've heard about a number of them, including invasive species, habitat degradation, but all of these threats to species is also leading to their extinction. And that's one of the main, I could say, crises that we're trying to be optimistic about this weekend in addressing how we're going to change the scenario of the planet right now. As scientists, we are all devising new gizmos, new instruments, new ways of assessing diversity, whether it's species diversity or complexity diversity. Primarily, though, many of us, what we want to know is 3 things. 1, what species is it? We want to record that species, and we also want to know where that species is found. Now, we can do this by sending out botanists such as this around, and I'm a botanist, so around the world, recording those 3 things, but we will never get the job done. There's not enough scientists around. So we want to enlist the aid of you, of citizen scientists that can help us record those 3 things, at least for some of these apps we're going to talk about. What is it? Record where it is, and something about it. And so just to talk about the greatest app that's ever been devised, just joking, you'll hear about 5 other really good apps, but to hear about one of them, I just wanted to illustrate LeafSnap, something I've been involved in developing. And LeafSnap is an app on that you can put on your iPhone for free. Its main purpose is to do those 3 things. First of all, identify a species of tree, record that species of tree, and determine where it's located. And you can do that simply by taking a photo of a leaf of a tree. That photo goes up to our server. In 10 seconds, you get an identification of that tree. And in 10 more seconds after you label it, you give us a permanent record of where you found that tree. And that record goes up to our server. LeafSnap was released about 6 years ago. We just finished analyzing the data for the first 3 years. And believe it or not, even though LeafSnap is only applies to about, at this point, 200 species of trees in the northeastern U.S., it's already, we've downloaded 3 million snaps from 1.5 million users in 181 countries around the world. Citizen scientists, and not even citizen scientists, just citizens, are obviously interested in using the phones they have and the equipment they have to look at nature, and I think this is what we're all going to be talking about today. 3 million downloads of 3 million snaps is a lot of data. That's more than we could ever gather as scientists doing that. But what are we doing with this data? Just a quick statement. Some of you may know that as the climate changes, as the Earth warms up, as habitats are altered, species are beginning to move around the planet. And so what we're doing with LeafSnap and the data that's being collected by citizen science and LeafSnap is to begin to map where trees are moving. And these two little maps of two species from the Northeast, one Quercus schumartii and the other Quercus velutina, two oaks. The green outline, if you can see that, is kind of the original distribution of these plants as recorded 50 years ago. And the little blue dots are where citizen scientists have actually recorded the presence of this species using LeafSnap. And as you can see, we're seeing these species move out of their normal habitats. And this is going to help us, greatly help us as scientists and as conservationists in understanding how the planet is changing and how life is moving around the planet.